Welcome to the Draft for Upside podcast. I am Brewery Mark. At a remote location, we have Danger Cole.
How you doing, Mark? Sitting here at the Beer Grotto in Ann Arbor, Michigan, enjoying a small sample of beer while getting ready to talk football with you.
That is awesome. So what are you drinking?
I have tried out the, what do they call it, Secret Stuff. It is a Perrin beverage that is a hard seltzer. It is completely and utterly clear. It looks like LaCroix.
Oh, that's interesting. How is it?
It tastes like you would think it tastes. It tastes like a fruit-flavored seltzer water that happens to be somewhere between 4 and 5% alcohol.
Yeah, sweet. So it's kind of on the sweeter side, not so much a beer.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like a hard seltzer water, so it's not terribly sweet. It's fruity, but it's got that kind of like muted flavors that you get from like a LaCroix or a flavored sparkling water.
Got it.
But
Excellent.
It's pretty good. I think it's going to be pretty popular. Actually, I have a friend who's a former brewer and part owner of a brewery in Florida who has left there since last time I talked to him. But my buddy was just down there visiting them, and they have a line of hard seltzers that they're brewing down there and claim that they are now out brewing beer with this hard seltzer down
there. Interesting.
So, yeah, definitely that White Claw phenomenon is continuing to spread throughout the industry.
Right, yeah. All right, so we are in week 9, which means we are past the halfway point. And we have several really good games this week. So the largest lines this week are Chicago 9.5 at Buffalo, Kansas City's 9 at Cleveland, Carolina's 6.5 at Tampa Bay. And our highest game totals are the Rams in New Orleans at 60, Green Bay, New England 57, although that's a Sunday night game, not on the main slate. Tampa Bay, Carolina at 54.5, Kansas City, Cleveland at 51. Which means as of now, New Orleans, Carolina, Kansas City, and the Rams have the highest implied totals. So where do we want to start?
Well, I think that we should start with the obvious, how much kick ass my 49ers were last night. That's the obvious place for me. So, of course, they're playing the lowly Raiders, which appear to be selling fast. And they have accumulated 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years. And I didn't know that they had given Gruden a 10-year contract. So I think this is all okay. I think Al Davis and crew knew what they're doing, understanding that they were going to be rebuilding. I don't know if they really thought that they would be 1-7 at the halfway point. But, they're trading off players. You might see some more action from them starting in March when trade season starts back up again. It'd be interesting to see if Derek Carr gets the boot. Yeah, man, my Nick Mullins, the third-string quarterback for the 49ers, man, he put up a game and led me to a little bit of money in my showdown last night. You remember how I told you I turned $1 into 20?
Yeah.
Well, I lied. I went back and looked. Those 3 kneel downs lost me the 0.2 points that took me from a $20 victory to a $10 victory.
Oh, then negative yardage?
That negative yardage from those, 3 kneel downs they did at the end took me from $20 to $10, but I'll still take a 10-to-1 return on my investment.
No, that's great. And, when I heard he was starting, I quickly went and swapped him into the 2 lineups I had Beathard in, and I turned $20 into 42. So I doubled my money.
And if anybody listened to our Thursday night preview game, we had kind of identified that we were going to play 49ers defense, and I had him in that whole time. But then when they said that Mullins was going to play, the savings from Beathard down to Mullins, I had so much money left over, I just couldn't bring myself to leave it that way. So we went from having San Francisco's defense in that 1.5 times captain spot to putting in Derek Carr. And after he got 6 sacks 6 times, they pulled him, of course. But if I would have left that defense in there and left that like $3,000 in my budget, I would have beat the first place guy by about 1.5 and won $500 for my buck.
Oh, So you went against two of our advices, which was play the defense and leave money on the table.
Absolutely, man. But it was like $3,800 left in the budget. I wasn't comfortable with it, and I thought, you know what? Like, if anybody's going to score points for the Raiders, it's going to be the quarterback. So let's go ahead and get the quarterback in. And yeah, man, that backfired. And I don't know if Rashard got injured, but he quit playing in the fourth quarter. So, I had a good chance with that too. He was just starting to heat up. He got 8 points for me on DraftKings, and then they pulled him, and they put Washington in. So I don't know if it was ineffective. The announcer said something about him getting dinged up, but I didn't see any plays with that, and I didn't see anything about it online afterwards. But
It
yeah,
felt
man,
like
I'm still
in
happy
the
with $10. Don't get me wrong. And hindsight's 2020. But man, it would have been nice to have left. And I tinker, and this is what is my downfall. Is I tinker all the time, Mark. If I just would have kept my gut feeling in and what we talked about, I'd have been $500 richer.
Yep, exactly. So right there, folks, is the lesson we try to tell people, and it's even hard for us to keep our own lessons straight.
That's right. Our gut feelings that 49ers were going to score some points was right, but yeah, I screwed that up, but that's fine. But I still won $10 of our money back from our lovely sponsors at I'mABeerHound.com. So I haven't lost all their money. We will live to play another week.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's head to what's going to be the highest chalk game, the Rams in New Orleans. So this has the highest game total at 60, which is nuts. Last year, 50 was nuts for a high game total.
Right.
So everybody's expecting this to be a gigantic shootout.
Absolutely. This game actually started as a New Orleans 1-point favor, and I currently have the last reading I have here at a 58.5 point over under with a 2-point favoring of the Rams now. So it's interesting. I don't know where it's going to end up. Obviously, betting's hot and heavy on this. I actually think New Orleans is going to win the game, and I think that they probably will go over this over under, even though it's so high.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now it's a matter of, with so many players on the two highest octane offenses, who do you play? I mean, in my mind,
Right.
Gurley is a must play, especially in DraftKings, where his salary actually went down this week.
Certainly.
He's a little too high on FanDuel, but
yeah, absolutely. Out of the quarterbacks, I think I like Breeze more. I think the Rams are going to be able to run successfully against New Orleans. The Rams' run defense is pretty good. They just picked up another offensive line stud, so it's going to be interesting to see how their defense plays out. But I like Kamara to have a big game too. I think he's going to be that quick drop out of the backfield. I think the Rams are going to get a lot of pressure on Breeze, and I think you're going to get a lot of dump offs to Kamara in this game.
Yeah, I have that same gut feeling. I actually already built a cash lineup, and Kamara was the first player I put in. Him and Cam Newton were the core of my cash lineup.
Yeah, I like Cam Newton a lot as well. He is currently sitting in my cash lineup as my first starter here. I've been kind of a little bit back and forth on him because I don't know. Cam tends to sometimes have these games where they manage the clock through his run game and their running back's run game, and I'm just not totally confident they're not going to do that against Washington. But I think he's steady, and I think he's a safe source for 20, 22 points. And
he's against Tampa.
Oh, he's against Tampa. I'm sorry. Who's against Washington? Who am I thinking of?
Washington. I'll look it up, but yeah, it's Cam against Tampa, which is the worst defense in the league.
Against Washington. Yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, I like that a lot, and but I can't get away from Breeze here. I think Breeze might go a little under owned because the Rams defense is pretty good, and I think I like Breeze, man. I think he's gonna have a good game.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good choice. I mean, because they're not really running the ball in for touchdowns. He's swinging it out to Kamara or Ingram or whoever. So even in short yardage, most likely he's going to pass it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people are too concerned about Ingram's touches, and I think Kamara is right back on track to be a superstar points. So I
Yeah.
like that a lot. Now for the passing game, I think Thomas is going to have a rough time getting free from these defensive backs. If you're going to take a chance on a guy from New Orleans, I much prefer like a Traquan Smith in this game to save some money. On the other side, I think that Cup's going to be back. So I know a lot of people were on the Josh Reynolds bandwagon, but I think that Cup coming back is going to push him off to the side burner as well. And if Cup plays, I think I like him a lot in this game as well.
Yeah, Cooper Cup would be great in this game. I think he's exactly what New Orleans can't defend against, which is that slot receiver kind of tight end area.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm still picking the over. I still think New Orleans wins this game. I think the Rams get their first loss, and you can fire up most players in this game. I think it's gonna be a high scoring affair. I'm not too scared off of any of them. I like Kamara and Gurley the most, and they're obviously the most expensive. I built a couple of lineups for funsies that had both of them in there, but that's going to be really dependent on some value plays.
Yeah, well, I have them both in my cash lineup. So
nice. So let's go back and look at another game, another huge spread on the day. I got a 10-point spread from my app here, and only a 37.5 over under in favor of Chicago at Buffalo. Now, I was listening on the radio today, and they were talking about how Buffalo is a tough place to come in and play, and the weather is bad. But isn't Chicago used to crap weather too?
They are, yes, but it's still there's something about playing in Buffalo and the stadium and the fans and everything. Buffalo is one of those places that have just such a huge home field advantage.
They do. The implied totals here would be about 24 to 20 in favor of Chicago. In this particular game, I think I'm a big fan of Tariq Cohen. I think Tariq Cohen's going to play a very important role in the game. And you can't go wrong with Chicago's defense, even if it's a very low scoring game. I mean, the game could go under the 37.5. And if you can afford Chicago's defense, I think they're pretty much a slam dunk. You got Nate Peterson back throwing the ball for Buffalo again. He's garbage. That team's garbage. Chicago's defense is plug and play if you can afford him. And I might even bet the under on this if I was a betting
man. Yeah, me too. The one position I like in DFS is the defense. I'll probably avoid most of this game. Cohen is a good flyer in a GPP.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's all I'm really touching. I might have Cohen and Chicago's D in there for fun. And you actually might see Jordan Howard have a little bit of a renaissance in the next coming weeks. He's getting a little bit more involved in the game flow for them, and he's really a decently talented back. There's no reason why he shouldn't be getting 14 to 15 carries a week, and I think you could start seeing that again.
All right, so let's move on to. We briefly touched on this, but the next highest game total is Tampa Bay at Carolina, 54.5. I think Cam Newton's lock and load in a cash game. I'm even going to put in a GPP lineup with him. And on the inverse, I'm going Fitzpatrick to Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's got an affinity for Deshaun Jackson. Carolina, from what I understand, is not giving up a whole lot of deep threats down there, but the chemistry between those two guys can't be denied. Can Fitzpatrick have a fourth consecutive game at 400 yards playing from start to finish in the game? I don't know. I think Carolina's defense is better than that, but he is probably going to have to throw the ball 50 plus times.
Yeah, and what we know about Fitzpatrick is he's a gunslinger, so that's all he does is throw the ball. He takes all kinds of chances. He doesn't care. He tries to squeeze the ball in. That's the dichotomy of Fitzpatrick is one game he'll go for 4 touchdowns and 400 yards. The next game he'll throw 6 picks. But
right.
He's coming back. He's taking the starting job again. He's going to be throwing the ball all over the place. I'm not necessarily going to play him in a cash lineup, but I'm going to have several GPP lineups with him.
Yeah, I'm totally afraid of him in the cash lineup, I'll be honest, because if he goes out there and throws 3 interceptions, they put James Winston right back in the second half.
Yep.
So a GPP play for sure. I don't think I can touch him in the cash game.
Yeah, I agree.
This game, I think, is an easy over on that 55. I mean, Carolina might score 45 on their own.
Yeah, and this is why I like Cam, because Cam is the whole offense. He either runs it in himself or, he dumps it off. He's got Olsen back. He already threw him 60 yards and a touchdown last week in his first week back. So I plan on doing a lot of Cam Newton and Olsen.
If you read any of my my stuff leading up to this week or the last couple of weeks, I can't tell you how many times in person, on the radio, on the webpage that I have talked about DJ Moore to become their number one at some point, this year, next year. Go look at their schedule. It's unbelievably easy for that style of receiver. He's going to keep getting the ball. DJ Moore is in 100% of my lineups this week, and I'm not taking him out.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, so I threw him into my first time tournament lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I like Moore a lot. I'm even comfortable with him in cash. I think he's going to get 7-8 targets. He's going to catch the ball. He's got a good shot at the end zone. I dig him. I don't know the other side of that ball there. I mean, O.J. Howard, if you're looking for a tight end there, I'm okay with as well. Not as much as a Godwin guy. I think Godwin was more Jameis Winston's guy. Evans is going to get his looks. He always does. So, yeah, fire up either side of this ball. Funchess even has a pretty good matchup against a pretty poor cornerback that he is going to tower over. So even a Funchess play is okay by me.
I agree.
Next game I see down here in my list here is Kansas City at Cleveland. Cleveland's got a whole new coaching staff. Really tough to know what they're going to do, but Greg Williams, the famous Bounty Gate coach from New Orleans, their defensive coordinator, has taken over the team. And they have, I believe, a Bruce Arians disciple in as their offensive coordinator now.
Yeah, I'm kind of playing Cleveland as a wait and see because I really just don't know.
Yeah, if the offense is Bruce Arians style, I think you're going to see a lot more Chubb, and he might be a very good play on the week. I like him a lot. I picked him up in almost every season-long team. It's a good matchup for them. The problem is if Kansas City gets the ball first, goes right down and scores, stops them for a drive, goes right back down and scores again. It could be 14-0 with 10 minutes to go in the first half, and they might just be resorting to throw the ball. But, Kansas City side, I love Kareem Hunt. I think he's maybe my favorite high-end play of the week. I think I like him more than Gurley, and I like him more than Kamara. The price is right. The matchup is right. And him and Kelsey, I think, are going to absolutely light this game up.
I agree. I love Kareem Hunt this week. He's my Gurley pivot.
For sure. Gurley's expensive. Is he 97, 9,800? I haven't looked at the total pricing yet. We'll get to that in a minute. But, I mean, you can pretty much start anybody from Kansas City. I'd watch out for Tyreek Hill. He has been banged up a little bit, and the Cleveland cornerbacks that are capable of covering him are actually okay. So I'm off of Tyreek Hill this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think I love Patrick Mahomes, but he is so expensive. I don't know if I can even squeeze him into any lineups.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great options this week, as there has been for the most of the quarterback matchups all year long. The new roughing the passer penalties that they've been throwing out there has made this game very quarterback friendly. I was listening to Chris Prince on the radio the other day, and he basically was lamenting that DraftKings has not been keeping up where they should be on the pricings of their quarterbacks. The quarterbacks should be going up in price. They're scoring too many points. There's too many options. It's too much of a free pass for how many quarterbacks have been scoring, 18, 19, 20 points or more every single week. And I hope the industry also catches up to that, because like he's saying, it's really not allowing differentiation. in these lineups, and it's making it too easy for the Sharks to get the lineups that they want because they know that the quarterback is almost a free pass.
Right.
So looking through this, let's go ahead and talk about the Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings game. I see the Vikings currently favored by 5 and a 49 over/under. I honestly, and I know you're not going to like to hear this, I think Minnesota's going to come wipe the field with them.
I actually think this is going to be kind of a sneaky shootout. I have Galladay in a lot of lineups, and for GPP, I'm just going to stack the heck out of Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. Well, here's the problem. I think Rhodes is back and healthy this week. I think he's gonna shadow Galladay for the most part, and then their next cornerback is by many standards absolutely one of the top guys, and he's going to be on Marvin Jones. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of room for either one of their running backs. I think if I like, their wide receivers, if I like anybody in this game, it's Kerryon Johnson, and it's Roberts, the tight end. I think Roberts is going to get split out a little bit to take that slot position a few times. And if Theo Riddick comes back too, you can see him split out there a little bit. And I think those are the matchups they're going to exploit. And I don't like Marvin Jones or Galladay in this game. I think they're going to get bottled up.
Yeah, I agree with you with Marvin Jones, but Galladay is one of those rare talents. And now that he doesn't have to share passes with Golden Tate, I think we'll see an uptick in his targets this week. Then there's TJ Jones, but he's kind of the slot receiver, gets maybe 3 targets a game. Yeah, I'm not really on Detroit this week. More on Minnesota. Lat Murray at his price, I think he's a lock and load in cash lineups. I have him in as my flex. Even with snacks there, the Lions can't stop the run. Just because they added one piece doesn't mean they're going to all of a sudden stop the run. So they'll just run away from them.
I think Slay's going to, slow down Diggs, and Thielen's going to have another big game. I like Kyle Rudolph a lot. Somebody dropped him in one of my season-long leagues, and I didn't have high enough waiver priority to snag him. But I think Kyle Rudolph goes for probably 5 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. I think this game goes under 49. I think Minnesota covers. I think I'm looking at like a 27-14 game with Minnesota winning. That's me. I'm willing to bet you a growler on it if you disagree.
Okay, well, I'll take that bet. I think it's going to go over. I think Minnesota is going to win, but Detroit will make a game of it.
Well, I disagree, but that's what we do best, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens when I'm on Detroit. They get their asses kicked. So maybe I should just tell you I'm on Detroit, right?
Well, that's exactly why I'm taking Detroit, because you're off Detroit.
That's funny. So the game I got confused with earlier, the Washington game. We got Atlanta facing Washington. I think Washington has been smoke and mirrors for the games that they have won. I think Alex Smith is terrible. I think that team is terrible. I like Atlanta a lot. I definitely put a GPP, dollar and a prayer lineup in with Matt Ryan, with Julio Jones to get his first touchdown of the year, and with Austin Hooper as well.
I can go with that. This is one of those games that I don't know. I just don't really look at as a lot of good plays when there's so many other plays.
Right. Yep, I like, and that's why I like this stack, the Atlanta stack, because I think there's so many high total games. There's so many big spreads. I think that people are going to be off it, and I think I'm going to get the Atlanta high-powered offense at extremely low owned numbers, and I think that that's going to give me an advantage.
Not worried about Washington's defense. They seem to have stopped some pretty good players this year.
I'm not particularly worried about Washington's defense. I think that Matt Ryan's been on a roll. I think Julio is due. Ryan's been throwing a lot to the red zone. It might not be a huge, super high-scoring game, but I'm kind of looking at it, and Atlanta's defense has been playing okay. So I'm not worried about Washington, really. coming back at it. I just think it's a sneaky play. I think a lot of people are going to be off of them, and I think I'm going to get Matt Ryan and Julio Jones at some of the lowest owned numbers on the year.
Yeah, I agree with that. People are not talking about this game whatsoever.
Not at all. And if you're playing multiple GPP lineups, you want some lineups in games that nobody's talking about.
Exactly.
And that offense is high-powered enough to get you some wins. So let's see here. We got a couple more 1 o'clock games. One more 1 o'clock game. Two more 1 o'clock games we haven't talked about. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Do you think Baltimore's defense is enough to slow down Pittsburgh? I'm looking at the line right now. They have Baltimore favored by 3 at home against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I do. This is a classic game of Roethlisberger does not play well on the road. Really does not play well in Baltimore. They always seem to have their numbers there.
Do you see this as a trap game? You think people are all in on Connor and Juju and all this, and you got Big Ben with an injured finger. It is on his non-throwing hand, but you think this is a trap game? Do you think people are going to be on Pittsburgh's offense and because of this line and this low over-under, or do you think that people are smart enough to stay away?
I think people are going to stay away. This is another game like you just talked about with Atlanta. You might. I'm going to probably throw in a Pittsburgh stack, just in case they could go off. I don't see it, but
for sure. And on the other side, they did pick up Ty Montgomery, which he's not going to play a ton in his first week. But it does help them a little versatility in that run passing game that Baltimore's been lacking. I don't really care for John Brown in this game. I think Pittsburgh's going to cover him good enough. I do like Willie Snead in this game, and I do like Hayden Hurst. I think that the rookie tight end is starting to emerge a little bit. I think Pittsburgh's soft up the middle. So if you're going to take some Baltimore guys on the comeback here, stack there, I'm really liking Willie Snead, and I'm really liking Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, I like Willie Snead a lot. So he's always good for 6-7 targets.
Except for when he played against New Orleans when I had him picked as my play of the week, of course.
Yes, yeah, of course. It's because you picked it.
Yeah, well, that's because I listened to Jeff Mann, so that was my first mistake.
Yeah, no shit.
Although he did give me Marvin Jones when he got his 2 touchdowns a couple weeks ago. I mean, I was already on him, but I just felt much better when you hear some of these seasoned professionals, unlike our amateur bullshit. Like a guy that you like, it makes you feel good about your pick for the week, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, the last 1 o'clock game we have to talk about is the Jets at Miami. Man, is that going to game suck, or do you think that there's some sneaky potential here? Because I've been listening to the radio for the last couple of days, and there's kind of mixed feelings on this. That there is a shot that maybe the Jets come out firing on this.
Nah, I'm avoiding this game. I know some of the talking heads are on Kenyon Drake, but I'm just kind of avoiding everything in this game.
And if you're down to it in your DFS lineup and it makes sense and you're out of money and you got a guy like Devontae Parker there, I think that you can take a shot on him. He's still going to be the main target again. We did tell people to go ahead and play him last week when he blew up for his career best game.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to avoid this game. There's so many better options out there. But I do want you to keep an eye on, if he's activated for the game, Elijah McGuire, who is on the PUP list until this week, which I think we'll find out by 4 o'clock today whether they're going to activate him or not. But keep an eye on McGuire. Maybe not this week, but if you're in a deep league and you need some running back help, you might just see Elijah McGuire come in and take a little bit of the game.
All right. So rolling into 4 o'clock games, Chargers at Seattle.
So this game is very intriguing to me. Seattle's defense always scares people more than it should the last couple of years. And I'm looking at this Chargers offense, and I'm looking at Ty Williams, who the last couple of games he played has absolutely crushed before the bye. I like him again. I don't think Seattle can cover that number 2 receiver. And I think Ty Williams has a really good shot at having a great game here. But it's always dangerous going against Seattle at home. That home field advantage of how loud that place is incredible. And but I do like Gordon. I do like Ty Williams. I don't know that I necessarily like Breeze's numbers overall. But those are the guys I like on that side. And on the other side, the Moore from the Seattle team is very intriguing to me. And I have a lot of DJ Moore and Seattle's Moore in my lineup. Is it David Moore?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I like this game a lot. It's another game that I think has sneaky potential to be a pretty high-scoring game. Wilson's been on a little bit of a tear lately. Their running game has picked up. Gordon's got a week off after some back spasms kept him out 2 weeks ago, so he's had 2 weeks off to rest. I kind of like this game as my sneaky value play, and with the main slates now not including the late games, I really like having a couple guys in those late games to watch my score keep going.
Yeah, and this is another game that people are ignoring, and it has a shootout potential. Rivers has been slinging the ball all over the place.
A lot of David Moore in my early lineups.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Houston at the Broncos. Now, the player everybody is on is Courtland Sutton.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
Not on him. Wait and see for me. He's supremely talented, but he's never had the full-on role. Houston's pass rush is pretty good. They're not great. I think at 3,900, is he a free play? Do you have to play him in cash games because he's going to get the volume and he's so cheap? Maybe, but I think he's going to be so over-owned that I'm off of him.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be chalk. He's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of a fade on him too. I do currently have him in my cash lineup, but that was completely a salary saver.
Sure. I think in large format cash games, Mark, I think he's going to always be over 30% owned, and that's an incredible percentage.
But that's fine in cash.
Right.
In a GPP, I don't like him because he's gonna be 50% owned. So
for a couple $100 more, you get David Moore from Seattle. Maybe not as many people are on him.
And $100 more than that, you can throw Devontae Parker in.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. $100 more than that, you can put Traquan Smith in.
Yeah, so there's lots of different options out there for him, and he's still got Case Keenum throwing to him. So,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Sutton. What is he, like 6'2", 210 pounds or something? I mean, the dude's a beast, and I think that he has potential to be an outstanding guy in this league, and I think he could be Demaryius Thomas in his prime next year once he gets used to everything, and if they ever get a quarterback worth throwing to him.
Well, the nice thing is at his current salary, you really only are expecting 5 catches for 60 yards, and he makes value. So
absolutely.
I would say he's a good. I actually prefer him in cash over tournaments, just because of ownership numbers.
Yeah, I'm just not on him. I think he's going to have a dud game, to be honest. I think they're going to throw a lot to Sanders, and I just don't like their quarterback. I don't like their offense. I think Philip Lindsay is going to get a lot more play. I don't know, man. I don't like him at all. I think he's going to have a dud game. I think so many people are going to be on him, and he's going to have a dud.
Right, and that's the next point to bring up is everybody's on Sutton. Everybody's ignoring Sanders. So
sure.
Sanders to me is the play. Especially,
Sanders going to have a really good play for the week.
Yeah, because nobody's going to have him. He's going to be low owned now because everybody's on Sutton.
Absolutely. So last game on Sunday is Green Bay at New England. It's not on the main slate, but I mean, New England's defense is kind of crappy. Green Bay's defense is kind of crappy. They're basically an evenly matched team. I can see this game being, 35-31. I can see this game being 27-24. A close game, lots of scoring. I think New England comes up at the end because Mike McCarthy's a garbage coach, and he'll make some stupid boneheaded play at the end of the game that New England will be able to take advantage of. But I like a lot of people in this game. Devontae Adams I like Geronimo Allison again. I like Aaron Jones on the other side. I love James White. I think James White's going to tear it up this week. I think Gronk is another great play here. Jimmy Graham on the other side is a great play. A lot of people are calling for Josh Gordon, but of course you know what I think of Josh Gordon.
Yeah. This will be an interesting game stack, a showdown.
Absolutely, that'll be a fun game because there's so many names you could throw in there for a showdown.
Yeah, maybe Saturday or Sunday we'll post a short little discussion on a showdown for that game.
For sure. Well, we nailed Thursday night, so why not try again?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I want to talk about Josh Gordon a little bit more. I was looking at him. He's played 5 games with New England now, and he's averaging 5 catches for, 50 or 3 catches for 53 yards, and he scored 1 touchdown. I mean, the guy's just garbage. He's been a wide receiver 3 once this year, a wide receiver 4 once this year, and every other week he's been outside of the top 50.
Yep.
So I don't know. A lot of love for Josh Gordon. Even Chris List today on RotoWire was talking about how he's just due for this big game. And I continue to say, what big game? There hasn't been one since 2012. I mean, yeah, I'm just not on. Stay away from him. Let him be. And honestly, they're talking about some disciplinary actions he's already had. But I think that their offense is so anemic with the injuries and things going now, they can't do anything. But it still is not going to shock me, and I'm still calling that he gets cut before the season's over.
I don't think he'll get cut, but I'm definitely off of him. Well, I was never really on him, but
yeah, I think this game's got a good shootout potential. It's not on the main slate, obviously. It's too late to join the Thursday through Sunday game, so it's not really too relevant. The same with the Monday night game, Dallas versus Tennessee. I'm all over Ezekiel Elliott and Dallas's defense. So I did play a couple of Thursday through Monday games because my 49ers were on Thursday, and pretty much all of those I had Zeke and I had Dallas's D.
Yeah, the Titans are so irrelevant. They went on bye, and I totally forgot they even existed. So when I saw them on the schedule, I was like, "Oh, that team is still in existence." Okay.
Sure. Well, the Guru was talking this morning that you might get a little extra value out of Deion Lewis and or Henry coming up because they did apparently just sign a fullback, which might signal that they're trying to get the running game going again.
Yeah, they have nothing else. So.
Yeah, nothing else. So that's really it for our breakdowns, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, I continue to sit here. I don't know how well you hear the background noise, but the beer grotto here in Ann Arbor is quite busy. I'm staring at the rep from Bell's over here. There's a rep from Perrin here. There's a few other reps hanging out here on a Friday, sampling with the manager. This is one of my favorite places in Ann Arbor, and you want to know why, Mark?
Why is that?
Well, they're my number 1 account of all time, so that helps. But you want to know the real reason why?
Yes, I do.
Because every week they advertise themselves as the place for the away teams that are coming to the big house as fans to come watch the game and drink beer. And I love that about them.
Yeah.
So they just built a big heated patio outside. They got a lot of TVs. They fly the flag of the opposing team next to the Michigan flag. But their manager here is an Ohio State grad, so he's much more in favor of catering to the out of town people than a lot of the bars around here. And I think that's working well for him.
So that's going to be crazy in a couple of weeks when Ohio State comes to town. Or are we at Ohio State this week?
Either way, I think we'll have a big crowd here.
Yeah.
As a non-Michigan fan, I don't follow that as much as others might.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, let's do a quick DFS breakdown here. I don't know that we need to go as big in depth as we just did all the game breakdowns. So maybe we each pick, a couple of guys, high end, mid range, and value for each position. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
All right, let me get the game started here so I can look at all the guys. Sunday feature. I'll play. Start one here. Create lineup. All right, starting at quarterback like we usually do. I mean, you love Patrick Mahomes. He is the highest priced guy at 7,100, but he's averaging 30 points a game. 30 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially in cash lineups. I think Mahomes and Gurley are the 2 players that you have to play regardless of what their salary is because they always make their floor is so high. They always
Sure.
make their salary.
Absolutely.
Outside of Mahomes, my favorite high end plays are for cash Cam Newton and Drew Brees. In tournaments, I'm gonna have Kirk Cousins.
See, you love to play against the Lions. I know that. I know that about you. I know that about you. So for me, I do love Cam. I really do. So Cam's probably been my number one play of the week. I kind of like John Watson too. He's got one more weapon available to him, but I don't know that he's my favorite. I do like Kirk Cousins. Drew's probably my next guy. Those are probably my high end guys. Cam and Breeze. Yeah, those are probably my high end guys. Who do you like in that under $6,000 range for your mid range guy?
I like Russell Wilson. I think he's a really good play this week against the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers rank in the bottom 5 of passing defense. And you're going to laugh at me, but I think Stafford's going to have a good game. He can easily make his $5,600 salary.
Stafford throws 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and is held under 260 yards.
Yeah, we have a growler. We have a growler bet on that. So
I'm writing this down. Stafford under 260, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I'm writing that down. It's been written down. All right, for my mid-range guys, I'm all over Matt Ryan. We talked about earlier. I think he's going to be extremely low owned. He's only 5,700 against the Washington defense. That's okay, but I think that he's going to connect with Julio Jones for that touchdown this week. I like him a lot, and I like Joe Flacco. I mean, just looking at the Baltimore schedule coming up, I'm probably going to be talking about Joe Flacco a few times on the show. I know you hate him, but he's serviceable. And they've got just an absolute weak schedule coming up. So I like Flacco in there, and I like Matt Ryan. Is there anybody below those guys for an extreme value that you like?
Well, I'm going to throw in one more that's could be considered mid-range, and that's Ryan Fitzpatrick in a GPP. He's going to chuck the ball all over the place. This Tampa Bay Carolina game is going to be massive shootout. I bet it reaches 60 points easily.
Yeah, it could quite easily. And Fitzpatrick can throw the ball 50, 55 times. So, but I also think he's going to be extremely high owned
too. On the low end, really not much here. I really don't like any of the low end quarterbacks.
Nope, I'm with you.
Maybe
any of them.
Alex Smith, maybe. But with his little noodle arm, I don't know. I kind of passing on these low end ones.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like any of those guys. Pay up for quarterback this week.
Yeah. All right, on to running back. I think Gurley, especially in DraftKings at 9,500, is lock and load in every lineup you can put him in. I'm going to be fading him a tiny bit in GPPs, but he's going to be in all my cash lineups.
Yeah, I like Gurley. I like CMC. I like Hunt. I like Kamara. I think you have to get at least one of those 4 guys in your lineup. At least one, maybe 2 if you're playing a cash game.
Yeah, Kamara is my other favorite high-end one.
I can get behind that. But what I do like is that McCaffrey, Hunt, Kamara are all in the 7,000 range. You can quite easily fit 2 of those guys into almost any style lineup.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I'm looking at my my first GPP lineup. I have Hunt, Kamara, and McCaffrey all in that lineup.
I think I have that same setup in one of my GPPs. Now I usually pair them down. I make about 10, and I pair it down to usually about 2 or 3 lineups. So once I get a real feel for the week, I pair it all down. But in that mid-range there, I already talked about my 2 favorites earlier. I like Tariq Cohen. I like Kerryon Johnson. I like Phillip Lindsay. I like all 3 of those guys a lot at 62, at 56, and 55. You can't go wrong, and you can save some money. I like all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, and I'm on the same 3 guys. I like Phillip Lindsay the best of the 3, then probably Kerryon after that. I just don't. My only problem with Tariq Cohen is I kind of see Chicago getting out to a big lead, and then they're just going to run Jordan Howard.
Yeah, possibly, possibly. It could
And
very well
then
happen.
on the low end, I really like Lat Murray. I don't think Delvin Cook's going to play. Minnesota's got a bye week next week, so I think they're going to sit him, let him go through the bye week, and make sure he's as healthy as possible coming out of the bye.
You're not going to predict 250 yards and 2 touchdowns for Lat Murray, are
No, no, no. He'll be uh he'll be 100 yards and 2 touchdowns though.
you? Sure, sure, sure. Going down the list there, I like Nick Chubb. I'm not going to stay away from him. I think that he's going to be more involved. If they truly do go to a Bruce Arians style offense, they really get the running back more involved in the passing game. And I think you could see a little bit better of a game this week than you did last week on him. And then Isaiah Crowell in Miami, for the Jets against Miami. I think he's a sneaky play at 4,200. They've been doing a lot of work with their running backs.
Yeah, I like Isaiah Crowell a lot. Nick Chubb, I'm off of this week. I know Kansas City has the worst running defense, but I just see Kansas City jumping out to a 21-3 lead, and then Cleveland's just got to throw the ball.
It could happen, but I think that Chubb wasn't asked a lot to catch the ball before. He didn't really need to, but I think that he's the best player on their offense outside of maybe Jarvis Landry, and he needs to get the ball. So I hope that this new coaching staff just trusts in him and sees what they have for him, because they're going to obviously get another couple of high-end picks this next coming draft, and they need to know if this guy is going to be the workhorse that they think he's going to be. So I really think you're going to see him touch the ball 18 to 20 times between carrying and catching.
That could be. Okay, on to wide receivers. Thielen is so expensive, but man, against Detroit's secondary, gotta play him.
I think you absolutely have to play him. Detroit is terrible in their nickel defense, and Thielen's just going to tear him apart. I just love Thielen and Rudolph this week. I can play them both in every lineup.
Other high-end guys, I kind of like Michael Thomas, and I love Robert Woods.
Yeah, I could see Robert Woods having a good game. You've been talking about him all week, and I don't disagree. I don't know how I feel about him on there. Actually, listening to the wide receiver quarterback breakdown on Guru Elite yesterday, and they were talking about how terrible the cornerback is that's going to be playing against Antonio Brown, and that because Baltimore's defense is so good, because Baltimore is favored, because the over-under is set so low, Antonio Brown might not be paid up for in a lot of places, and I'm starting to try to figure out how to get him in a lineup or two.
Yeah, it's an excellent pivot, because I do think he's going to be super low owned, and we touched on that earlier in our game breakdown. A Pittsburgh stack with Antonio Brown would be a great differential in the GPP.
Absolutely. I'm okay with Michael Thomas. I think it's going to be more secondary guys, but I like him. He's scoring almost 22 points a week, and he absolutely is the number one there. But for the top end guys, you know that I love Julio this week. I think it's another guy that's going to be very under-owned. Let me double check here, but as far as I know, he still has not caught a touchdown. No, he hasn't.
Nope.
But he is. See, I'm trying to find where he's at here. He's like averaging 10, 11 targets a game. So he's played 8 games. He's had 81 targets. So he's averaging 10 targets a game. Yeah, eventually that's going to catch the end zone, isn't it?
Yeah, he's racking up yardage at a record pace and targets and catches at a record pace. He's just not getting the end zone. So he's got a really good floor. And,
he does. He's got 53 catches. 53 catches. He's got 116 yards a game. He's averaging 21 DraftKings points a week, and he hasn't scored a touchdown. So you put all that together and get him a touchdown in there, you're going to see a 30-plus point game out of this guy, and I think it's going to be this week.
And the nice thing, and I'm falling in love with this game the more and more we talk about it, is nobody else is talking about it.
Nobody. I love it. I've already got 2 big lineups based around this game.
Yeah, so I'm really falling in love with Atlanta this week.
Absolutely. And if you were looking for a comebacker there, I think this is the week that Josh Doxson comes out. They're starting to throw in the ball some more. He's got a great matchup on an undersized cornerback with Atlanta. So if you need a comebacker there, Josh Doxson's always a good option there, if you ask me. And he's probably a good value play for me. So I'm going to write him down in my value section as well.
All right.
So
So
mid-range.
let's go sub 7,000 here. I like Emmanuel Sanders and Cooper Kupp if he plays.
Yeah, I think Kupp's going to play. My only issue is with that coming off that bum knee. You know, he was seeing 90+% of snaps on their offense, and I don't know that he'll see that many. So he might not get that like 12 looks that he's been getting, but he still is Jared Goff's favorite target, and I absolutely love him. And the questionable mark might actually keep people off of him in what is bound to be the highest scoring game of the week.
Yep, I totally agree with that.
Yep, I like both those guys, definitely. Looking down further there, it's trying to keep above 5,000. I don't really like a whole lot of other people in that mid-range, so I'm either paying up or I'm going value.
All right, so let's head down to value. I like Devontae Parker, and maybe Curse. Parker's really the only one I'm on, I think.
I tell you what I like in this $4,000 range. We already talked about it. I love DJ Moore in Carolina against Tampa Bay. I love Willie Snead in Baltimore against Pittsburgh. I like Josh Doxson against Atlanta. Tyrell Williams. This is my bread and butter. This is why you're going to see a lot of my lineups with, Gurley, Hunt, McCaffrey, Kamara. You're going to see me stack a lot of big names because I love all these $4,000 range wide receivers. There's so many I like. What did I just say there? I like DJ Moore.
Yeah,
I like
DJ
Willie
Moore is a great one.
Tyrell Williams, Traquan Smith. I like Cortland Sutton at 39. David Moore at 39. These are all great options. You could even look at Mike Williams for the Chargers against Seattle. And these are all 38 to 4,400 plays. I think you load up on these really bargain wide receivers, and it allows you to pay up for running back or pay up for tight end, even if you want to get Kelsey in the lineup.
Yeah, this is definitely a week for the value wide receivers.
So, I don't know. I like all those guys I just mentioned in the bottom. I don't know. What are your favorite of those $4,000, $3,000 range
guys? Mine are Parker, DJ Moore, and Cortland Sutton are my favorites. I really like DJ Moore.
All right, well, let's break down the tight ends here and get out of here. I got to clock back in and get back to work.
All right. Obviously, Kelsey, I think you play him every game. I really like Jordan Reed against Atlanta, but my favorite of the high end this week is Greg Olsen against Tampa's crappy ass defense.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I like Kelsey more, but of course he's going to cost you $2,000 more. So if you want to get one of the high end target guys, definitely love me some Greg Olsen. So I like Kelsey, I like Olsen. I'm with you there. If I can fit Kelsey in, I'm putting him in.
And then kind of going down the list, I would think we've been on Atlanta this whole conversation, and so Hooper's sitting there at 3,800.
Yep, I love Hooper a lot, and I also like O.J. Howard, who tends to thrive when Fitz is throwing the ball.
Yes, and I heard you mention Kyle Rudolph earlier against the Lions.
Big fan of Kyle Rudolph. The Lions don't know how to cover the tight ends.
Yeah.
If you need a value play, if you're looking real low, it's not much lower than those guys, but I do like Ed Dixon. He's been kind of emerging in Seattle. He's got a proven track record for having some good games back with Baltimore. And my other guy that I like for my extreme value play, and because I like him, he's probably going to do terrible, but you know where I'm going.
Michael Roberts.
Michael Roberts. I actually think Michael Roberts is the biggest beneficiary in Detroit on this trade with Tate, because Michael Roberts has been split out a few times into the slot and outside positions in the wide receiver core, and I think you're going to see more of that. And they got Luke Wilson, who's a plotter and a blocker, and I think you're going to see Roberts catching some targets out there.
And I like that a lot because if you remember, that was my preseason tipsy pick of the year. I think I predicted 9 or 10 touchdowns out of him for the season. I don't know if he's going to get there, but they're throwing the ball to him a lot lately.
Yeah, well, he's got 3 touchdowns on the season,
Yeah,
but he also didn't play for 4 weeks.
right.
So he's only actually suited up for 4 games. He's only received targets in 3 games, and he has 3 touchdowns. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets and 3 touchdowns on the year. So you're on pace.
There you go.
I love it there. Defense-wise, man, I mean, honestly, I'm putting the Bears almost everywhere, and then I like the Chiefs. Those are really the only 2 that I like.
Yeah, and those are the 2 I've been migrating to too. When I need to save money, I'm throwing Kansas City in, and then if I can squeeze it in, I throw Chicago.
Yeah, I like it, man. Well, if anybody's in the Ann Arbor area, I highly recommend the Beer Grotto. It's one of my favorite places. It's our number 1 account around. Ding, 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 ding. Jamie, the guy here, is a great guy. Always has some great beer on. I want to thank I'mABeerHound.com for letting me play DFS this year, so my wife wouldn't yell at me.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to work and look for a few more posts this weekend. We're going to do a showdown, a Sunday night and a Monday showdown cast. So look for that soon.
I love it, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. We're Draft for Upside. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.